Before I dive into this rebuttal, I want to say that this movie was a mixed bag for me, but still favorable. I enjoyed its unique premise and stunning visuals. There were some conveniences and a third act that seemed to be more spectacle than substance, but I truly appreciate the ambition it had when it asked the big controversial question, even though it lacked some in execution. I found a lot of these claims that the movie is a piece to promote rape culture unfounded. Passengers asked a really hard question of morality, and the answer that comes of it doesn't come easy. But I can't discuss this without going into details, so prepare yourself for very detailed spoilers ahead. Chris Pratt's character, Jim, spends an entire year on the ship completely alone because his pod malfunctioned. The space mansion quickly becomes a prison, and he tries everything he could do to go back to sleep. He tries to fix his pod, he tries to contact Earth, he tries to wake up the crew. He tries it all and fails. He tries his best to live his life on the ship, but all the drinks and Dance Dance Revolution games can only go so far. It was a very lonely year, and one that nearly broke him. Jim contemplates suicide and nearly opens the airlock without his spacesuit on. He pulls back at the last minute and stumbles onto Aurora's hibernation pod. He does have this love at first sight moment and takes the time to learn more about her through the archives they have on board. He watches her interviews, reads her books, and ends up falling in love. Then he has to make the most difficult decision of his life. Wake her up and rob her of the rest of her life? Or continue on with his loneliness and depression? He makes the uncomfortable decision to wake her up, which did result in a unified gasp throughout the entire theater I was in. And I don't think anyone thought it was right. Admittedly, my friends and I exchanged nervous glances because he did seem to be unhealthily obsessed with someone who had no idea who she was, but we weren't quick to condemn him to the pits of Tartarus. We were interested to see how this was going to play out. And here's where I wanted to make my rebuttal against some of the critics who are already riding the rape culture train. Yes, Jim's decision to wake up Aurora was an immoral and selfish one. He understood that completely, but the man was still at the end of his rope. Does this excuse him? No. But if people would stop rushing to Twitter and pay attention to the rest of the movie, they'd realize the movie was in no way pardoning Jim's actions. When Aurora found out, she was absolutely horrified and couldn't stand to be near him. She even physically attacked him and nearly hit him with a crowbar, to which the SJWs will need to explain to me whether they think this is okay or not, because I'm genuinely curious. At this point, Jim had lost her, and if the movie was pardoning his actions, they'd have Aurora accept his apology and they'd be together fulfilling the male fantasy. And to drive this point even further, I wonder if people even saw the scene between Aurora and Lawrence Fishburne's character after he inspected the hibernation pods. She called it murder, and he didn't disagree. He then related Jim's actions to the plight of a drowning man to take someone down with him. It is wrong, but it is the last act of a desperate man. But according to Christy Puckko, the third act shelves this conflict with some infuriating dialogue that boils down to, what Jim did was wrong, but Aurora is so beautiful, can you really blame him? Yes, yes, yes. Over and over again. Just because he was attracted to her doesn't make it okay for him to steal her. But sure, let's ignore this and rush to the ticking clock save the ship finale so we can have some cool action shots for the trailer while avoiding the rape culture promoting plot twist that lingers over this film like a child predator at the edge of a playground. Okay, Christy Pucko, please tell me exactly where you saw this in the movie because I genuinely want to know. Reviews that are only inch deep and only grab onto the surface details of A, B, and C happening are reasons why it's getting more and more difficult to escape this extremist wave of political correctness. Apparently, there's no way to talk about a difficult subject without offending people, and a movie can do pretty much everything in its power to let you know something is wrong, but people will still see what they want to see. In the end, Jim even found a way to put Aurora back into suspended animation and gave her that choice to fulfill her dreams. Granted, I know that this delves into spoiler territory, but if you're going to accuse something of propagating rape culture, I wonder why this was never really addressed.
You have to stop the Q-tip when there's resistance.